Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you for tuning in to Recount Watch. I am Vanella Harris, and joining me this afternoon is Peter Ramsaroop. Peter, thank you for taking time to join us this afternoon.
Pleasure.
And so, Peter, the first thing that we're going to talk about is the fact that, you know, today is most likely going to be the final day of counting boxes at the Recount Center. And so far, as we know, the PPPC has an unassailable lead of over 16,000 votes. And at this point in time, you know, we already know what the results will say, but also it is almost impossible for the APNU AFC to be able to surpass our lead at this point in time. And we have seen the desperation that is coming out of the APNU AFC as they are now faced with the validation of their loss, which they have known since the March 2nd elections, as they would have tabulated as well. But they have continued to lie to their supporters. They failed to accept their defeat gracefully. And you know, it's catching up with them right now. So, Peter, what are your comments? How do you feel about all of this?
Well, I think the nation is looking forward to the finalization of the results. I mean, we have gone through 3+ months of back and forth. You know, as you said earlier, that we all knew what the election result was on March 2nd. You know, I was with our General Secretary on March 4th, I think, at the Ashman building, and one reporter asked him, what next for the PPP? And his answer was so classic. He said, government. And we are this close to taking charge of Guyana as a government. Our team is ready. And, you know, but as you listen to Mr. Granger and his team, they continue to peddle this false information about fraud and you know, and other activities throughout the electoral process. But as you look back to the last 3 months, we can only find one single fraud that happened, and that was the Mingo fraud. And that is why the nation was held hostage over the last 3 months. That's why people's lives was tumbled upside down. Our economy has stumbled because of GCOM Mingo's fraud. And so I'm excited. I think the nation is excited that the results cannot be changed now. The 16,000 votes, I think APNU has realized that is nothing they can do. The last minute rhetoric, the last minute throwing migrants and dead people to the top cop, he's sending back flawed information back to GCOM. All of this will not change, as you said, that 16,000 number. The fact is the PPP has won the election, has won it fair, has won it in a transparent, credible manner, and the leadership of the PPP and Dr. Irfaan Ali is ready to lead our country. You know, our motto throughout the campaign was one country, one people, one future. And that is what is exciting about it. So as we listen now to the last minute desperation rhetoric from APNU, I think our people must realize that it will come to an end. A decision must be made. The law makes it very clear that a declaration must be made after the recount and tabulation. And right after that, a new president must be sworn in to lead our great nation to the future.
Yes, and the PPPC is definitely ready. We've been ready since 3 months ago. We should have been in office, especially the fact that we're faced with the pandemic now. We could have been in there making a difference in people's lives. And it's been very difficult for persons all across the country, you know, to deal with the pandemic and persons losing jobs and still not being able to have a legitimate government in place. And but you know, all of this is going to come to an end. We're close to the end, and the PPPC, what everybody should know is that we're ready to take over and make people's lives better. As we would have outlined in our manifesto, we have plans to benefit every single Guyanese, and you know, we're ready to work and serve.
And one update I think the nation was looking forward to. We know the last day or two, the APNU threw a curve trying to say that some of the 29 boxes weren't supposed to be counted because they failed in their job to put the right other documents in place. The ballot was correct in the box, and GCOM Commission has voted to tabulate those boxes.
And the ballots that they would have recounted in those boxes, everybody must know as well that when they did the recount, the SORs also matched the SOPs.
Yeah, and so everything, I mean, and I still believe that GCOM on election day, as we all know, ran a very credible election. There were some human errors in information, whether they're in the box or not, but they're very credible. And the results, the SOP and the SORs are all matching up. I think there's less than maybe 30 boxes to go as we speak, or even less for the day, and it should be finished today. And the final tabulation within the next day, and then the results to the commission. And so our nation can, we can't rest until it's all completed. But our fight for democracy, our vigil against the false rhetoric by APNU, their false promises and failed promises over the last 5 years, the country can breathe a sigh of relief that the end is almost near. And Dr. Ali says it's best, as APNU supporters see the Sabrok News and the Kaieteur News and other newspapers put this great lead that the PP is at in the last day of the counting. I know you have to go through a sense of loss. I mean, a lot of people do in any electoral process. And, but one thing I feel very confident, regardless of who you voted for, regardless of whether you fought the democracy, you fought, what happened in the last 3 months, Dr. Ali is committed to a one country, a one people, a one future. And, APNU supporters and those that may have supported them and really feel sad that their end and the loss is going to happen, have to know that we have a great country to rebuild. We have a great future ahead of us. And we're all excited to see every citizen benefit. And Dr. Ali really commits to an equal opportunity president, an equal opportunity for every citizen. And that's what melts my heart, to know that we're about to go into a great future for our nation.
Yes, definitely. But we are very happy that, the meeting that they just had at GCOM about the 29 boxes, as you mentioned, that the APNU was hoping those votes would be invalidated because, those are PPP strongholds. But what the viewers especially need to understand is that we had instances in even APNU strongholds before where there were missing documents, and a note was just made in the observation report, and those ballots were counted, because the fact is that every Guyanese deserves their vote to be counted. And so it is positive news to hear that those ballots will be tabulated, and APNU's plan to suppress the will of the people and disenfranchise voters has failed yet again.
On all the observation reports, if you look at what is written there, they're coming out with frivolous statements. They're calling out serial numbers, saying somebody's dead, somebody's alive. And we know there's no validation of that. Many of the people that they put on the list have come out very publicly. And, some of them in tears to say, I'm alive, I'm here in Guyana, I didn't travel, I voted, here's where I voted, here's my ID card. And, it is sad for APNU, their leadership there at the convention center, to continue to delay the process by throwing out these frivolous reports. And it wouldn't get them anywhere. The numbers and the ballots are safe. I listened to Sanjeev Dadadin this morning, one of the lawyers and candidate on the PP list, when he said, that ballot sheet is so authenticated with security features, almost equivalent to your dollar and US currency or a Canadian currency, that there's no way to have fake ballots. And so we all can rest assured, and that APNU cannot disenfranchise 400,000 voters. They want to claim only 70,000 ballots are valid. It's impossible. We all know what we did. We all know, APNU supporters and PPP supporters and other parties know, when we went in that polling station, we had a ballot, we validated the ballot, we know it was stamped, we put it in that box, and we know our vote must be counted. And so to listen to the frivolous observation reports, and they're betting that something out of these observation reports will come out. Well, there's no way to investigate yourself. You can't claim I was dead and I voted. If I'm alive, I'm alive. And who's going to prove that? And, you know, it's sad to see them continuing the rhetoric and giving their supporters false hope. And, you know, I want to assure those supporters that, you know, the law is the law. You know, our rules and regulations and our transparency and accountability that GCOM has in place is credible. And as they go through this process and they tabulate these numbers and they present it to the commission, you know, the law dictates that the commission must then declare a winner based on the recount data. And we look forward to that.
Peter, we've been seeing statements coming out of diplomats in the Caribbean, in the international community, the OAS, the ABCE, diplomats making statements asking for the results of the recount to be respected, because so far that has been the only process where the tabulation has been transparent and credible. And so they were very keen to ensure that they remind Granger of his commitment to respect and accept the results that come out of this recount.
I would say, and I'm glad that the foreign observers and the local observers have come out publicly and stated that. But, you know, as you travel around Guyana and you talk to citizens, again, regardless of where you voted for, they're all saying what the ambassadors are saying. It's not that there's foreign people telling us that, we're telling ourselves that. You know, our people are telling us that. The APNU and PP supporters are telling, you know, our vote got to be counted. We know it was transparent. We know it was accountable, and we're not willing to derail democracy because someone don't like the results. You know, and in any part of the world, when you lose an election, you know, you concede. It's hard to concede, and I understand that it's a struggle for APNU leadership to say they concede. But for the good of Guyana, for the good of our people, Mr. Granger got to do what he said he will do. He said he would accept the results of the recount, and everyone is hoping that when he gets up there in the next day or two, or whenever the finalization, that he will go meet his word. He's a historian, and when history writes, it's gonna write about his last days in office and how he reacted. And the world and Guyanese are looking for his reaction, and we hope that his commitment is there, that he will, as he said, accept the results and concede. And, you know, Dr. Irfaan Ali has said many times, he says, you know, Mr. Granger will get his pension. You know, you don't hold anger. You lost an election. We're upset, basically, of what APNU's put the country through, what has put GCOM through, and all the money that has been spent could have been spent better to help the COVID-19 health crisis that we have. We're here. It's final, and we want to move on. And that's what Guyanese are looking forward to.
And, you know, Peter, it is not too late for them to come out and tell their supporters the truth. It is not too late. They can come out, they can concede, and they can, you know, accept defeat gracefully and let us have a peaceful transition of government, because the Guyanese people deserve better than this. They do. 3 months have passed. 3 months have passed already, and people need to get on with their lives. We need to get on with the business of running our country.
And what we all know, the PPP did not run this election. We were just a participant. We were part of the process. We had a polling agent at every polling station. APNU had a polling agent. GCOM had 3 people in the polling station. The PPP had no ability to create any havoc within the polling stations. And that's what they're trying to tell the supporters, that we had something. We were just as equal as APNU players in that polling station. GCOM had more people. We had policemen. So that's why everyone, including, as you're talking about, the international community that observed that election, has said so many times with passion and with conviction that they saw a very credible election. No one picked and voted twice. No one, you know, came and voted for a dead person, or no one migrated and didn't come back to Guyana vote. None of those things happened. It was a well-run election, and, you know, I will continue, and we will continue to say GCOM ran a very efficient election. on March 2nd, the only issue that came about throughout this entire process is Mingo's fraud. Mingo's fraud. You know, James Bond have a little sling that he says Mingo, Mingo, Mingo. You know, someone put from bed sheet to, from spreadsheet to bed sheet to chemistry. And Mingo has to know he has committed electoral fraud and the beneficiaries of electoral fraud. And as APNU leadership come to the end, as you said, they have the next day or two to really come clean, tell their supporters, we have to accept the numbers. The numbers are real. There was no shenanigans by anyone to change those numbers, and the result of the election will show that the PPP has won the election at a very good margin, a very safe margin. But, you know, it's not about triumph. It's not about us, you know, jumping up around the country and you know, being funny and being laughing. It's about the future of our nation. We have a health crisis ahead of us. Dr. Ali is a very serious person. He's so committed to ensure that the development plans that is in place is implemented as quickly as possible, where every citizen benefit. And that's why you're not going to see any big celebration. You're going to see a fact that Dr. Ali is ready to work and bring our country forward, put our country forward. One country, one people, one future.
Yes, definitely. But also the fact that they're bringing all of these frivolous allegations about dead and migrated persons voting, you know, as we have told the viewers before, the fact is that GCOM does not have the authority to investigate itself. And the only recourse that APNU or any person who has any issues with the recount or the elections as a whole, they have to file an elections petition and go to the court for that to be dealt with there. And it's very unfortunate that the APNU AFC, you know, we're hearing all of these allegations, but what we fail to hear up until this point is Mingo's fraud. Mingo's fraud that would have benefited nobody else but the APNU AFC. The APNU AFC is the only party that Mingo would have added votes for while taking away votes from the PPPC. And what we want to see, yes, just before you pick up on that, what we want to see though is that when they do go file that elections petition, the first thing that should be mentioned is Mingo's fraud. That is the first thing that needs to be investigated.
I so totally agree on that, because you keep hearing that nowhere in their rhetoric, nowhere in discussion. When you see just today another 30 boxes showed Mingo's fraud, he added hundreds of votes to boxes that didn't exist in his spreadsheet. And, you know, it's a criminal act. And, you know, for them to defend, some of them are calling him a hero, for them to defend Mingo and not to deal with it at this level, and the courts would have to deal with it at the petition level or at the criminal level. That tells you that their drive for power and to ruin our country, to ruin our reputation, to ruin our people in a significant economic crisis and health crisis, it tells you that, you know, why did they lose the election is because of these things. They failed on their promises the last 5 years, and what Guyanese people and the people around the world have seen in the last 3 months is devastating. They have proven to the world they're not fit and ready. As Mr. Granger used to like to use the word fit and proper. They're not fit and proper to ever run our country again and ever be part of any leadership and any direction in the future of our nation.
And in their desperate attempt too, they've even been throwing their own supporters under the bus, because I recently saw James Bond put out a video accusing their own party agents that would have gotten up early and worked for them tirelessly at those polling stations and accuse them of colluding with the PPPC to rig the elections. How more ridiculous can these people get?
Yeah, and there's about, you know, 2,300 plus APNU agents were there. And then
they were dressed in their green T-shirts as you enter the polling stations. And we know that the rule is clear. You know, you should wear neutral colors. They were very proud to wear their green T-shirts that represent the APNU AFC. And so to hear a statement coming out, that is the gratitude that you get from your party leaders. You know, it's very unfortunate.
I would say they did a very good job. They were very good in scrutinizing, just like other party supporters. You know, they mark people's name off the list, they double check the ID card, they double checked your finger. They all did a great job to ensure we had a credible election. So our hat should be off to all the people that work on election day, both GCOM, both all the parties, all of them did an extremely good job. And that's what, as a voter, we all, if you do a poll and you ask any voter, when you went in there, did everyone check you? Did you feel that you were being scrutinized? Did you feel that, you know, you couldn't do anything wrong or bad or cheap? And everyone would say it was a very credible day, transparent and accountable. And it's sad to see Mr. James Bond, an executive member of the PNCR, going and throwing that at his own workers and supporters that volunteered their time to make sure that their party votes were counted or voted rightfully on election day. And it tells you the desperation, the devious desperation of APNU and the PNC, their deception to their own people. What they're trying to do will not work. What the numbers have showed is that they have lost the election. And Mr. Bond, Mr. Harman, and the rest of them that are telling the Guyanese people every day, you know, crap, you know, there's other words to use, but the fact that they're deceiving the Guyanese population that bad things happen on election day when it didn't happen is a sad case. And it shows that they have no leadership, they have no courage of conviction to tell the truth. And the history and Guyanese people will never forget what they have done to our country. And it will never be allowed to happen again.
And they just continue to lie and lie to the Guyanese people, lie to their own supporters, which is very unfortunate because we saw after the elections that President Granger actually said that the elections were free, fair, and orderly. Basil Williams, and we have those things on video. They said that the elections were free, fair, and orderly. They also, with the same elections process, they also declared victory several times. Though it was on fraudulent figures, they declared victory. And even up until now, it is clear that they're still hoping to go back to Mingo's fraudulent figures to have a swearing in.
And there's no way, there's no path. I mean, and you know, as we look at the law, we look at the results of the election, we look at the process of the election, there is no path at this point and ever since March 2nd for Mr. Granger to ever be president of Guyana again. He lost an election, he lost it fair, he lost it by 16,000 plus votes. And no matter what they do, the observation reports, their devious reports that was sent to the top cop, and you know, he sent back a flawed, the PPP and the General Secretary has called for him to recall the flawed information that he has sent to GCOM because he can't prove the people have come out and said they're here. So he needs to withdraw that information, you know, to GCOM. GCOM cannot utilize any of that information he sent, and the law doesn't allow them to utilize that information. So, you know, we have so much collusion going on between APNU and other players in our nation to deceive the Guyanese and to derail our democracy. And what they have learned throughout this process, that democracy is a powerful tool. Democracy is what people fight and die for. Democracy is what we all want in our nation. You know, a lot of our forefathers, Dr. Jagan and people that fought for democracy back in 1992, knows what it means to know that you have a freedom to your vote, for your vote to be counted. And nothing that Mr. Granger and APNU team or the top cop or whatever they're trying to deceive us will change the fact that my vote must be counted, and my vote is transparent, and my vote must be added to that list. And what we're seeing is that's what's happening. The tabulation will be completed in the next 24 hours, and we will see the final results, exactly what GCOM published on night of March 2nd across the country. 2339 polling stations had an SOP, and when you add up all those 2,300 plus SOPs that GCOM published the night of the March 2nd, it added up to exactly what the SOR has proven 3 months later. And GCOM, the other copy they have, they don't want to show us, but they didn't realize that all of us got copies and pictures of the 2,339 that was on the polling stations.
including the APNU AFC that has failed to release their copies up until now. Why? And you claim victory, but why would you not want to prove your victory? And, all the allegations that they're clutching at straws, as we know, and every single allegation that they come up with, every single narrative is being refuted daily. So the faster that they come up with narratives, is the faster that the narratives and their allegations are being refuted by persons that they claim are dead or migrated and would have voted. And the sad thing is that there are so many persons that are being traumatized by this. I heard of a case where there was a young lady and her mother was in the hospital. She was ill and she got a phone call asking if her mother is dead because APNU AFC has claimed that her mother is dead. And so going through that emotional period, the young lady said that it was very traumatizing for her because, her mom was very ill at that time. So to get that call, it was very traumatizing for her. And that is what the APNU AFC has been putting people through. And it's nothing new because for the 5 years that they were in office, they did nothing for the Guyanese people. They failed as a government. They've been incompetent. And that is the reason that they lost the elections. And so this should not be a surprise. What they need to do is to go back and look at their track record. What is it? Why is it that we were voted out? And come again in 2025.
They have a hard road to rebuild. I mean, and their supporters are looking for better than that. To tell their own supporters that we don't even accept your vote. We only accept 70,000 out of 400,000 votes. If I was an APNU supporter and I voted for them to tell me, I don't want your vote, I want to say it's a fraud. You committed fraud, APNU supporter, by voting for us. That's what they're telling their own supporters, that they committed fraud. They should have never voted. Only 70,000 votes should be valid. Mr. Harman is ridiculous. I think when you look at his eyes, the desperation in his eyes, when you look at the others around him, when you listen to Mr. Ramsaroop, it's a last fight. They're going down fast and they don't know what else to do but to lash out. And, we are loving people, Guyanese are loving people. We want to make sure there's unity in our country. We want to make sure we move forward in harmony. And that's what I said. It's looking across the aisle and looking at what our plans are and how all of us and the APNU supporters, all of us can shake hands. Political parties have another opportunity 5 years from now to come at the polls and demonstrate why they can do better. The PPP has a lot of issues, a lot of commitments they have made for the next 5 years. We have to deliver, and the leadership will deliver on those commitments to all of Guyanese people. And that is what elections is about, is to decide who you want to take care of the nation for the next 5 years. And that's why we vote. And that's why APNU voted and why the PPP and other parties voted. We voted for the best leadership. And we've got to commit to Guyanese, and we have committed, and we will do the best job possible. We will ensure our commitments are delivered. Dr. Ali talks about results-oriented, outcomes-oriented. He talks about leadership and courage and vision, and how do we make every Guyanese feel that they're part of our new found wealth? How do we make every Guyanese benefit from development plans? And that is what the commitment you want in an election cycle. And then in 5 years, we've got to deliver. And in 5 years, I hope that APNU can rebuild in some form. They can find better leadership to be opposition, and they can represent the people that took their time and voted for them, instead of trying to disfranchise the voters across Guyana that we don't want this election anymore. We lost it, so we don't want the election. It will not work. Guyanese want our country to move forward.
Yes. Peter, I want to thank you for spending time with us this afternoon. Do you have any final words for our viewers?
Well, I say we are excited that the final outcome is, hours and days ahead of us. We all have to look across the aisle. We have our neighbors, we have our counterparts in the political parties. But, this one country, this one future, this one vision is we will have to get back to. And all of us have to put our hands in the wheel and make sure that Guyanese benefit from our country. And I'm looking forward personally, and I know a lot of Guyanese across Guyana is looking forward to Dr. Irfaan Ali leadership. He's a man with courage. He's a man with vision. He's a man with delivering on his commitments, and he's a man of his word. And I look forward, and we all look forward to him leading our nation in the next 5 years. We've got to get through the critical health crisis. We've got to rebuild our economy. We have to look future at our development plans. We have to rebuild our reputation around the world. There's a lot of things that he's going to have to tackle. And the team he puts together, the candidates like you and others on the list, will help him deliver on that commitment. And that is what I'm excited about. And I look forward to seeing the next 5 years that we make Guyana a great place for all of us to live in. Every citizen, every person in Guyana benefit from Dr. Ali's commitment to our nation as an equal opportunity president.
Yes, thank you, Peter. Viewers, thank you for spending time with us. You guys do have a blessed rest of the day. Goodbye.